You know, in the Indian village of Belpore, they whisper a legend after dark. And yeah, it's a ghost story, but the real horror? It has nothing to do with ghosts. It's a story of just unimaginable cruelty and a mother's love so powerful that not even death itself could stop it. This is the story of Anjali.
This one question, this is the heart of it all. It's a cry that they say still echoes through the fields of Belpore long after the sun has set. Where is my child? It's the question that really drives everything we're about to dig into.
So, to really get Anjali's story, you first have to picture the place she lived. Belpore is, for all intents and purposes, a totally normal, quiet village during the day. But the second night falls, this chilling legend just takes over. The locals whisper about a ghostly woman weeping under a giant peepal tree, just endlessly searching for her lost child.
And this right here, this is the whole point. See, whatever spooky story the villagers were telling each other at night, it was nothing, and I mean nothing, compared to the real human horror show that was happening right under their noses behind closed doors. While a ghost was haunting the village, a living woman was being systematically destroyed in her own home.
Anjali marries into this family, Raghuvir's family, but from the get-go, she's not family, not even close. She was basically a servant. The taunts started almost right away, and they all focused on her dowry. Her mother-in-law would sneer things like, "What did your father give us? 2 pots and an old cupboard?" And Anjali just endured it. She clung to this tiny hope that maybe tomorrow would be better, but it never was.
Well, that daily cruelty it soon found a new, much sharper target. The fact that Anjali couldn't seem to have a child. Now, in her society, this was seen as the absolute ultimate failure for a wife, and her family, they started using it as their #1 weapon against her.
Now, this word, banj, it's absolutely crucial to understanding what happened. It wasn't just a word, it was a verdict. It became this ugly insult they'd just hurl at her every single day, a brand that marked her as completely worthless. And they used this label to justify every single cruel thing they did to her, poisoning her spirit day after day after day.
And the psychological assault, it was just relentless. It never stopped. Her mother-in-law would complain loudly to neighbors, just so Anjali could hear, that she couldn't provide an heir. Her own husband would make these awful jokes about her rotten luck. They even lied to her parents, telling them a doctor had confirmed the problem was all her. And this torment didn't just stay in the house. It followed her outside, into the nasty stares and whispers of the entire village.
Imagine that. For 5 long, agonizing years, she puts up with this. Beatings, starvation, insults, and she held on, fueled by this one hope that if she could just have a baby, maybe everything would change. And then, one morning, it happened. A doctor confirmed she was pregnant. For the first time in years, a real, genuine smile spread across her face. She could feel a life inside her, and she thanked God, truly believing her suffering was finally over.
But that flicker of hope, oh, it was shattered almost instantly. When she told them the news, her family's reaction was just chilling. They weren't happy for her, they were happy about the heir. They openly talked about just sending her away after the baby was born. To them, she wasn't a mother-to-be. She was just a vessel, an incubator, and her heart just broke all over again.
You'd think the pregnancy would bring some relief, right? Nope, it actually got worse. She was still forced to do all this heavy work, hauling water while her body was getting weaker and weaker. They'd give her just stale bread or water, and some nights she got nothing at all. Her body was literally wasting away, even as this new life was growing inside her.
I mean, this whole situation was just a ticking time bomb, and it was about to go off. What happened next was the result of years of cruelty just boiling over into one final horrific act of violence, and it was all sparked by the most ridiculous, trivial argument. And it all started over something so ridiculously small. Her father-in-law complained that his food was cold. Anjali, who was exhausted from a doctor's visit, she tried to explain. But her husband, Raghuvir, he was drunk and he was furious. He starts accusing her of doing it on purpose. He slaps her. Then he kicks her. She's crying out for her in-laws to help her, but they just watch. As she falls to the ground, shielding her stomach, her very last words are a plea for her unborn child. And then, just silence.
So in that awful, chilling silence after Anjali dies, these are the first words anyone says. Not shock, not regrets, just cold relief. Good, the trouble is over. That one sentence tells you everything you need to know about their complete lack of humanity.
And what they did next was just as cold-blooded. They decided, no funeral. Too many questions. So Raghuveer drags his wife's body, her hands still wrapped protectively around her belly, out to a field. He digs a shallow grave, dumps her in, and buries her without a single prayer. And then all three of them, husband, mother-in-law, father-in-law, they go back inside, wash their hands, and sit down to finish dinner.
But you know how these things go. The evil they just buried in that shallow grave, it wasn't about to stay there. 3 days went by in total silence. The family didn't even say Anjali's name. But on the third night, the horror they created came back for them.
It all started with the sound of a baby crying. An impossible sound, right? Filling the whole house. Soon after, that legend of the weeping woman under the peepal tree started spreading like wildfire through the village. Inside the house, the crying turned into these awful, agonizing screams. Her father-in-law even saw a crystal-clear vision of Anjali in the courtyard, cradling a child, only for her to just vanish into thin air.
I mean, the terror was just relentless. It got so bad that all three of them, Raghuveer, his mother, and his father, started sleeping in the same room, behind a locked door. But, as they were about to find out, no lock in the world can protect you from the ghost of the woman you murdered.
And that brings us to the final, terrifying chapter of this story. The spirit's revenge finally finds its conclusion, and the village is left to pick up the pieces of a tragedy that completely destroyed one of its families.
So one morning, they're found, all three of them, dead, inside that locked room, with no signs of a break-in, no signs of anything. Their cause of death? Completely unknown. But everyone who saw them said the same thing. Their faces were just masks of pure, absolute terror. Anjali's revenge was complete, and now the village's fear of her spirit was very, very real.
The villagers are desperate at this point, so they call in a mystic, a man named Haridas Baba. He pretty quickly figures out what's going on. He inspects the field and confirms exactly where Anjali was buried. He explains that the spirit of a pregnant woman is incredibly powerful, and to bring peace, they had to give her what she'd lost. So her body was dug up, and finally both mother and child were given a proper cremation.
So the rituals are done. Justice, in a way, has been served, and the last rites were finally given. But the big question that was hanging over the entire village was, would it be enough? Could Anjali's spirit finally find some rest?
And you know what? After the cremation, the really intense hauntings, they did stop. The whole village kind of breathed this collective sigh of relief. But the story didn't just end there. It turned into a permanent legend. Even today, people say that if you happen to pass by those fields late at night, you can feel this sudden, unnatural chill in the air, a little reminder of the mother and child who were buried there.
And that, of course, brings us right back to where we started. The legend says her spirit still wanders, forever searching, her voice carried on the wind with that one eternal question. A question that serves as this chilling memorial, not just to a ghost, but to the very, very real tragedy of a woman who just wanted, more than anything else, to be a mother.